Inspiring moments, Millionaire discovers Housekeeper'S touching secret while carrying her child. Jake Thompson strode through the palm-lined streets of his affluent California neighborhood, success wrapping around him like an expensive suit. He had it all: a skyscraper tech company, endless wealth, and a stunning home that stood like a palace against the backdrop of pristine homes. But as he strolled through his empty halls, the walls echoed not with laughter, but with silence. The glimmering chandeliers felt cold, and the familial bond he once cherished with his wife and children frayed like the edges of an old rug. Just the help, he could hear his peers sneer at parties, dismissing the people like Maria, their housekeeper, who kept his life running smoothly. But Maria was more than just a maid to him, though he had never taken the time to notice. A single mother with fierce determination, the 28-year-old juggled cleaning his upscale residence with multiple jobs to provide for her daughter, Isabel, a bright light in her life. One rainy afternoon, weary from juggling the demands of life, Maria collapsed on the kitchen floor. Panic surged through Jake as he rushed to her side, feeling her child, Isabel, only 5, squirming in his arms. While waiting for help, Jake's hands brushed against a neatly folded stack of letters in Isabel's backpack. Curiosity tugged at him as he opened one, revealing words that spoke volumes. Maria poured her heart into those letters, detailing her dreams, her sacrifices, and the relentless hope she carried for Isabel's future. With each sentence, Jake's chest tightened. He read about Maria's sleepless nights, her grit in facing the world, and the joy she found in Isabel's laughter. For the first time, he felt the mirror of his own choices, the weight of privilege clashing violently against Maria's resilience. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The internal battle raged within Jake, simmering close to the surface. At a lavish party that night, surrounded by wealth and disdainful laughter, his friends made cutting jokes about Maria. When will she learn her place? One scoffed. Jake's heart raced, fury bubbling over. He stood, fueled by an unfamiliar resolve, and defended Maria fiercely. Stop. She's not just the maid, she's a wonderful mother, sacrificing everything for her daughter. You all need to recognize the dignity in her struggle. Gasps echoed through the room, the tension thickening the air. Jake's voice filled the void of silence that followed, igniting something electrifying. This was more than about him or Maria, it was about respect, about humanity. As the night wore on, conversations shifted, murmurs of admiration for Maria began to ripple through the crowd. Jake's heart swelled. He was witnessing the community's awakening to the true measure of a person. Yet, he stood at a fork in the road, the looming question hanging above him: should he offer Maria the promotion she deserved, redefining their roles, or retreat into the comfort of ignorance? The night seemed to hold its breath, and Jake realized he was staring down a path that could transform everything. With uncertainty in his heart, he found himself at the cusp of revelation, ready to rewrite the script of his life. What choice would he make? The decision weighed heavily on Jake's mind, each possibility stirring doubt and excitement in equal measure. He couldn't shake the feeling that his whole life had led him to this moment, to the realization that Maria was more than an employee. She embodied the strength and warmth he lacked in his own existence. He wanted to reach out, to connect, but fear lurked like a shadow, whispering caution in his ear. The next morning, the sunlight streamed through the high windows of his home, casting soft patterns on the polished floor. Jake sat at the table, coffee cooling beside him, his mind replaying the party. Each laugh, each dismissive comment clashed with the image of Maria, vulnerable yet strong, spreading hope through her letters. He could still see her on the kitchen floor, those letters pinned beneath the weight of her life story. Just then, Maria entered, her tired expression softening when she noticed him. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," she greeted, her voice warm but laced with a hint of hesitation. Maria, he started, the name feeling oddly foreign yet familiar on his tongue. Can we talk for a moment? Her brows knitted together, worry creeping into her features. Is everything okay? More than okay, he replied, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. I've been thinking about you, about what I said at the party. And he paused, gathering his thoughts. I want to offer you a promotion. I want to recognize the incredible work you do for my family every day. An expression of disbelief washed over her face. Mr. Thompson, that's really generous, but please, Maria. I mean it. You deserve more than just being the help. You deserve to be recognized for your hard work and dedication. He watched as her eyes flickered with emotion, surprise, gratitude, and a hint of fear. I don't know, I've never had a job like that before. What if I fail? Failure is part of growth. It's your determination that makes you a perfect candidate for more responsibility, he urged, stepping closer as if creating a bridge of understanding between them. Still, doubt lingered. What will your friends think? They don't see me as anything more. Jake's heart sank at the thought of their sneers but steeled himself. Let them think what they want. This is about you and your daughter. You deserve to thrive, not just survive. Maria's gaze dropped to the floor, a whirlwind of thoughts navigating through her mind. Jake wondered if he'd gone too far, if he'd offered a dream too grand for her to grasp. Yet, he could see the flicker of hope sparking in her eyes. What if I accept? She finally breathed, a tremor of anxiety and excitement in her voice. Then we'll figure it out together. You're not alone in this. The kitchen clock ticked loudly in the silence that followed, each second stretching between them. Finally, Maria drew a breath, her resolve hardening. Okay, I'll try. Relief washed over him, and he grinned, a new bond forming in that moment. But as joy bloomed, Jake felt a tinge of fear creeping back, in this choice would shift everything, both for him and for her. What would it mean to redefine their relationship? And how would the world outside react when it noticed this transformation? The path before them was uncertain and fraught with challenges. Yet, they were now taking those first steps together, a leap into uncharted territory. Later that evening, as Jake lay awake, he couldn't shake the feeling that their lives were on the precipice of change. What did the future hold for him and Maria? And was he truly ready for the consequences of opening his heart? The answers, he realized, were just beginning to unfold. The next morning felt different. As Jake sipped his coffee, the sunlight felt warmer, as if it were illuminating not just the room but a path forward. He thought back to the trust they had built in such a short time. Maria had agreed to try, and that small step had ignited something within him. When Maria arrived, a quick smile tugged at her lips. The acceptance of her new role seemed to fill the air with a kind of electricity. Jake noticed a lightness to her step as she moved about the kitchen. It filled him with hope that maybe they both were changing. Can I make you some breakfast? She asked, her voice carrying an unusual buoyancy. Only if you allow me to help, Jake replied, surprising them both. He never had much interest in cooking, but today felt different. Maria laughed softly, an unexpected melody in the morning haze. You've got yourself a deal. As they worked side by side, Jacob handed her eggs, a spatula, and every bit of encouragement he could muster. They joked about pancakes and burnt toast, while the smell of bacon sizzling danced through the kitchen. Each flicker of banter felt like a tiny thread weaving them closer together. Who knew you could be charming in an apron? Maria teased, a playful glint in her eye. I could say the same for you, Jake shot back, and the unexpected laughter sent warmth surging in their direction. Had they crossed a line they couldn't uncross? He brushed the thought away. After breakfast, Jake turned serious. Do you remember what we talked about yesterday? The promotion? Yes, she replied, cautiously. What about it? I want to set clear goals, and I want you to feel empowered in this role. You'll lead a small team to keep the house running, and I'll help however I can. She hesitated, biting her lip. But what if they don't respect me? I've always just been the housekeeper. Then let us change that perception, Jake declared, feeling bold. You deserve respect. I want to show you how much your hard work means. Not just to me, but to everyone. Maria's eyes widened, a whirlwind of emotions cascading through her. Okay. I'll give it my all. But if it doesn't work? Jake met her gaze, a steady anchor in the storm of her fears. Then we adjust. Together. No failures, just lessons. A small smile crept onto her face as she nodded, and for the first time, Jake sensed a shared understanding blossoming between them. He'd taken the first step to trust her, and she was unburdening her heart. After long hours of planning, their day wrapped up. As the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the living room, a soft cry echoed from outside. Startled, they exchanged glances. The sound tugged at Jake's heart, an innocent wail, likely from Maria's little girl. I didn't know she was out there, Maria murmured, rising from her chair. Jake followed her outside, where Maria's daughter sat on the grass, her big eyes glistening with unshed tears. She had fallen, and there was a small scrape on her knee. Panic rushed through Maria's veins, and Jake stepped forward. It's okay, sweetie, he soothed, kneeling beside her. You're brave. Let me take a look. In that tender moment, he saw a new side of Maria, the loving mother fiercely protective of her child. As he bandaged the girl's knee, he felt a connection truer than before. Maria crouched next to him, worry softening her features. Thank you for helping, she whispered, gratitude and something deeper lingering in her voice, but just as the moment settled, Jake sensed a shift in the air. It was more than just Maria's past creeping back in, it was the realization that their lives were about to change in ways neither of them could have anticipated. What's next for us? He asked, looking into her eyes. But what she didn't expect was the wave of emotions that crashed over her at that moment. Would they be able to face the consequences? And what would the future reveal for both their roles professionally and personally? Maria inhaled sharply, the reality of Jake's question swirling in her mind like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. She felt raw, exposed in this moment, and a sense of vulnerability washed over her. It was easy to get lost in her emotions, to think about the past, but she had promised to focus on the future. Next she murmured, casting her gaze down to her daughter, who was still staring up at them with wide eyes. Next, I guess we just take it one day at a time, right? Right, Jake replied, his voice steady. But as he glanced at her daughter, he couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper hung in the air. There was an unspoken bond forming, something fragile yet powerful. The child's eyes sparkled, reflecting both innocence and an uncanny understanding of the moment unfolding before her. Jake stood up, brushing off the grass from his knees. Let us get her inside and clean that up properly, he said, motioning for Maria to follow. Her stomach flipped, nervous about the interaction moving forward. They returned to the kitchen, Maria helping her daughter settle on a stool. She grabbed a wet cloth and dabbed at the scrape while Jake rummaged through a first aid kit. The atmosphere was lighter now, the worry slowly fading. I didn't know you had a daughter, Jake said, breaking the silence. Maria chuckled softly, half amused, half embarrassed. I didn't mention her before. She's my world, I suppose. I guess I thought what? Jake prompted gently. That you might not want to know, Maria admitted. I've always worried that people wouldn't see me as just a housekeeper if they knew I was a mother, too. Maybe they think I don't know, less of me. Jake met her gaze, his expression earnest. You're so much more than that to me, Maria. I see your strength. I respect you both as an employee and as a mother. His words wrapped around her, warming her heart in a way that felt almost foreign. Thank you, Maria whispered. She felt that his kindness reached deep down into the insecurities she had been harboring, scraping away the layers of doubt that had built up over the years. As they tended to her daughter, the three of them formed a small circle in the embrace of their home. Laughter echoed off the walls as Jake made goofy faces to make the little girl giggle. Each chuckle pushed Maria farther from fear and closer to a sense of possibility. But beneath the laughter, a storm brewed within her. Could she really embrace this new life? Could she accept that she was worthy of love, respect, and a fresh start? As Jake turned to Maria, concern etched across his brow, she was struck by the intensity of his gaze. "I mean it. I want to help you, not just professionally but personally. If you ever need support, I'm here." His offer hung in the air like the promise of a summer rain. It was tempting, yet terrifying. She could seek help, ask for more, or simply retreat back into the shadows, where it felt safer. Maria hesitated, considering her heart's response against the sheer weight of the world she carried. Before she could respond, the doorbell chimed, skewering the moment with sudden urgency. Her heart raced, the implications swirling again. Who could it be? Jake glanced at her, a question lingering in his eyes. "Do you want me to get it?" As she shifted her weight, the path ahead grew foggy again, sudden unknowns swirling like a tornado. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. What if the visitor disrupted everything they were building? "Actually, I think I should, but what could this visitor bring? Would it shift everything they'd just begun to understand?" Maria exhaled slowly, drawing strength from the soft laughter that still echoed in the kitchen. The doorbell rang again, a harsh interruption that yanked her from her thoughts. She looked at Jake, whose brow was knit in concentration, as if sensing her internal battle. "I'll get it," she managed, pushing her fears aside. A part of her felt drawn to confront whatever awaited on the other side of the door. She set down the first aid kit and walked to the entrance, her heart drumming a steady beat of anticipation. The moment she opened the door, a wave of familiarity crashed over her. It was her sister, Sophia, with her bleach blonde hair pulled back into a tight ponytail and a look of mild annoyance on her face. She held a small paper bag crammed full of pastry boxes and a plastic bottle of juice. "Surprise! Thought you could use some treats," Sophia exclaimed, stepping inside without a second thought. Her smile faltered as she noticed Jake standing in the kitchen, watching them with an expression that shifted from curiosity to surprise. Hey, Jake," Sophia stammered, her eagerness to see Maria suddenly dimmed by the realization of who, exactly, was in the house. "Hi," Jake replied, his tone even. Maria felt a prick of discomfort as her sister's gaze darted around, taking in the scene, the band-aid on her daughter's scraped knee, and the casual, intimate atmosphere. "Is this a bad time?" Sophia asked, her voice losing its earlier excitement. "No, not at all." Maria rushed to assure her, but she could feel her cheeks warming. "We were just hanging out." She glanced back at Jake, who seemed amused by the sudden shift in energy. "Yeah, just getting to know each other," he added, shooting Maria a reassuring smile that made the moment feel slightly less awkward. "Great. Just trying to bring some joy and sugar into your life," Sophia said, her bravado returning as she placed the bags on the counter. "What's wrong with you, Maria? You look like you've seen a ghost." It's complicated," Maria replied, unsure of how much to reveal to her sister. The truth was, everything felt complicated. "You okay?" Sophia stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You've been quiet ever since we got that call last week." Maria swallowed hard. How could she explain everything to her sister in this moment? The turmoil, the awkward new relationship with Jake, the thorny feelings brewing inside her, it felt monumental, and Sophia's innocent inquiry illuminated that fact like a spotlight. "I'm figuring things out," she said finally, keeping it vague without looking into Jake's direction. "Figuring things out, huh?" Sophia raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. "You know, you can talk to me about anything. If this guy gives you any trouble, I'll come down here swinging." Jake chuckled softly, but there was an edge of tension that lingered in the air. Maria felt exposed under the scrutiny of her sister's gaze, and Jake's silently observant presence added another layer of complexity. I'm not in trouble, Maria insisted. But deep down, she recognized she was straddling a delicate line. One step too far in either direction could unravel everything she was building with Jake. Okay, but don't forget you have family, Sophia said, determination etched in her tone, before looking back at Jake. So, you're the guy, huh? Maria's boss? Something like that, he said, trying to keep it light. Right. Well, I hope you're treating her well, Sophia challenged, arms crossed. I do my best, Jake replied, his tone sincere, his gaze resting on Maria for a heartbeat longer. The air grew heavier, filled with unspoken words and swirling feelings. Maria felt the pounding of her heart again, but now it was laced with uncertainty. Would these fragile connections hold up when faced with the reality of their pasts? As they stood in that kitchen, surrounded by laughter and love yet woven through with fear and hesitation, Maria realized choices loomed large. The delicate strands of her life were about to tangle, and every decision felt like it mattered more than ever. If her sister saw through her brave front, maybe it was time Maria faced her own truths. What if she hesitated as an idea bloomed in her mind? What if I invited you both to dinner tomorrow? Just to catch up. Jake's surprise mingled with tentative hope, while Sophia's eyes widened with enthusiasm. But as she spoke the words, Maria felt a strange dread creeping in. What did she really want? And would tomorrow bring the lightness she craved or deeper shadows? The sunlight filtered through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow over the array of pastries Sophia had brought. Maria's heart danced between excitement and anxiety as she watched her sister unwrap the sweet treats with a joyful flourish. The scent of cinnamon and sugar filled the air, almost masking the tension that had settled among them. Okay, so what do we have here? Sophia asked, peering into the paper bag as if it held secrets. I think one of those is a cronut. Maria replied, trying to maintain a light tone as she felt Jake's presence shift beside her. Not just any cronut. This is the bakery's special, Sophia declared, her eyes sparkling. Apparently, they have caramel filling. You have to try it. Maria forced a smile, but her mind was elsewhere. She glanced at Jake, who stood casually leaning against the counter, watching them with a curious demeanor. His presence was reassuring, yet it stirred an inner conflict. Would Sophia see the growing bond between them? Did it worry her sister? Maria, Sophia interrupted her thoughts, breaking into Maria's whirlwind of contemplation. Are you okay? You've been awfully quiet. Is something bothering you? She took a step forward, concern knitting her brows again. Maria felt her heart skip. Should she share her truth? No, not now. Not with the shadows looming over them. I'm fine, really, Maria said, hoping her tone conveyed sincerity. Just thinking about tomorrow. Tomorrow? Sophia's interest piqued. Is that when we have dinner? The three of us? Yeah, I thought it would be nice. Sophia prodded, raising an eyebrow. You do realize it will be a catastrophe if you keep having this just fine energy? Because I can't handle another emotional fest today. My nerves are already shot from my meeting. A soft chuckle escaped Maria. At least Sophia was trying to lighten the mood. Just when she thought they could resume their light-hearted banter, the reality of her decisions crashed into her like a wave threatening to pull her under. Sophia, Jake interjected gently, Maria does have a lot on her plate. It's okay not to share everything right away. He shifted, placing a hand on Maria's back, a steadying touch. The gesture sent warmth through her, reassuring and confusing in the same breath. The undercurrents of emotion twisted tightly, and her heart raced at the implications of their growing relationship. Sophia studied them both, mouth slightly agape as if she could sense something shifting between the two. Okay, she relented, hands raised in mock surrender. But I want in on the secrets later, you hear? Deal, Maria said, suppressing a sigh of relief. As laughter bubbled back into the kitchen, they began sampling the pastries. For a moment, The weight of unspoken words floated away, replaced with simple joy. Just as Maria began to feel the pressure lift, the quiet buzz of her phone interrupted the cheerful scene. An alert surfaced with a familiar name. Her heart sank. The past was demanding her attention, and her pulse quickened as she read the words, "We need to talk." Feeling the shift in her expression, Sophia leaned closer. "What is it?" "Just an old friend," Maria muttered, anxiety prickling at her conscience. "Old friend?" Sophia echoed, concern creeping into her voice. "Yeah. It's complicated." Jake's gaze intensified, and Maria wondered in that moment if she had let too much slip. Sophia's reply was cut short as the sound of hurried footsteps approached the door. A sense of urgency surrounded the room, the air thick with unspoken worries. Who could it be now? As the door swung open once again, there stood an unexpected figure from Maria's past, one that could either mend her tattered life or shatter it altogether. "Maria, we need to talk," the figure declared, eyes filled with urgency. A deep breath caught in her throat. What would this mean for her and Jake? Would tomorrow's dinner truly bring the lightness they sought, or would it spiral into chaos? Suddenly, the choices seemed weightier than ever. Maria's heart raced as she stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, her breath hitching at the sight of Diego, a figure from her past she had hoped to leave behind. The warmth of the pastries forgotten, the playful energy evaporated, replaced by a tumultuous mix of fear and confusion. "Sophia, Jake," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is Diego. We go way back." Diego stepped into the room, urgency etched across his face. "Maria, please. I need to talk to you, now," he implored, his desperation palpable. Sophia exchanged a quick glance with Jake, a silent communication unraveling in the air as Maria floundered, caught between three swirling emotions, the thrill of reconnecting with someone who once knew her well, the panic of what that connection had meant, and the tightening grip of Jake's hand on her back. "Can it wait?" Maria finally managed, her brow knitted in frustration. "I'm busy here." "It can't wait," Diego insisted, closing the gap between them. "This is important. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't." Maria felt Jake's presence shift beside her, and she could sense the tension coiling tightly. "What's this about, Diego?" she asked, crossing her arms and trying to project an air of indifference. Diego hesitated, the heat of the moment casting shadows on his expression. "I'm back in town for a reason, and it involves you." "But not just you," panic flared in Maria's chest. "What do you mean? Can we talk privately?" Diego urged, his voice lowering but charging the air with intensity. "No," Maria answered firmly. She glanced at Jake, his face a mask of concern and curiosity. Her heart twisted. She didn't want to drag him into this confusion. "Maria," Sophia chimed in, brow furrowed in concern for her sister. "Maybe you should just hear him out. It could be something important." "Important?" Maria scoffed, the weight of their past anchoring her to the moment. "Every time he has shown up before, it's been anything but important. It's usually a mess." "Please, let me explain," Diego pressed again, his eyes pleading. "I wouldn't come to you if it wasn't about something big. I swear. I can't let you face this alone." The room seemed to shrink, the air thickening with heavy emotions. Maria felt torn between her past and her present, between the life she was trying to build and the shadows trying to pull her back. Jake stepped closer, the warmth of his body a slight comfort. "Maria, you don't have to talk to him if you don't want to." His voice was low, soft, a reminder that he was there for her, that she didn't have to face Diego alone. In that moment, Maria caught the flicker of something behind Diego's urgency, a look that hinted at fear and regret. A twinge of curiosity gripped her. What did he mean by needing her? The unanswered question tugged insistently at her heart. "Fine," she finally relented, her throat dry and her stomach twisting. "Just 1 minute. Like you said, you can't wait." Relief flickered across Diego's features as he nodded, pulling away just enough to allow a semblance of privacy while still standing too close for Maria's comfort. She took a steadying breath, glancing towards Sophia and Jake, who were both offering her quiet support. "Marie," Diego began again, voice dropping to a whisper. "It's about your mother." The air shifted again, heavy with implications, and Maria felt her stomach drop. Her heart raced with fear and curiosity, but the moment felt charged. What could he possibly mean? As she searched Diego's eyes for answers, questions bubbled in her mind. Had this unexpected reappearance opened a chapter she thought was sealed? Would facing her past bring clarity or unravel everything she had worked to build? The struggle loomed large as she faced a choice, and once again, the weight of her decisions felt heavier than ever. Diego's gaze bore down on Maria, filled with urgency that made her limbs feel heavy. "I found something," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "Something about your mother that, well, it changes everything." The words hung in the air, weighted with unspoken histories. Maria felt a shiver run down her spine, a sense of foreboding creeping in. Memories of her childhood, those hazy afternoons filled with laughter but also shadows of gone and forgotten conversations, flooded her mind. "What do you mean?" she pressed, her voice tense. "Promise you'll listen." The room seemed to tilt. Maria glanced at Jake, whose expression was a mix of support and concern. This was her battle, yet here he was, ready to stand with her. She took a deep breath, finding strength in his presence. "Fine, I promise. Just tell me what you found." Diego stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "I know where she is." The words rolled off his tongue like a stone dropped into a placid lake, sending ripples of disbelief crashing through Maria's heart. "What?" she murmured, her shock evident. "You found my mother." "Not just that," Diego continued, his eyes flaring with intensity. "She's in a situation that could be dangerous." "Diego, stop." Maria interrupted, backing away slightly. "What situation? What are you talking about?" He ran a hand through his hair, visibly struggling with his words. "She was involved with people she shouldn't have been. They think she knows something that could hurt them." Maria's breath quickened. "But why should I believe you? You've lied to me before." "I'm not lying this time," he insisted, desperation clawing at his voice. "I came back because I couldn't let you find out on your own. You need to know before it's too late." The weight of his words sank in. Maria's heart was clenched in a vice. This wasn't just a conversation about her mother, it was a battle between the life she had fought for and the chaos that could shatter it all. Would reopening this door bring about the truth she always sought, or would it drown her in a storm of complications? "Maria, please." Jake stepped forward, concern etched across his face. "This is serious. You need to think carefully about what he is saying." Her pulse raced. She had pushed her past away, yet here it was, raw and alive. What if I don't want to face it? What if I just want to move on? "Sometimes moving on means confronting the past," Jake replied quietly. Diego nodded in agreement. "You have to choose. It's your mother's safety on the line, but there's also the truth you deserve to know. You can't run from it forever." Maria's stomach churned. How could she bear the weight of this choice? The fear gripped her, but beyond that, a thread of hope flickered, a chance to reclaim the pieces of herself lost to silence. "Fine," she whispered finally, the word tasting bitter on her tongue. "Let us do this. But I need to be sure I can trust you." Diego nodded solemnly, sensing that they were at a tipping point. "You will. I swear to you, this is the truth." Just then, a loud noise jolted them from the charged atmosphere. Sophia dropped a plate in the next room, the sound piercing the tension. They all turned toward the noise, startled and momentarily distracted. "What was that?" Maria asked, anxiety threading through her voice. "Just a plate," Jake replied quickly, but Maria's instinct sensed something beyond the mundane disruption. What if that sound was somehow connected to the chaos ahead? As the unease settled over them, Maria knew they had crossed into dangerous territory. The choices laid before her now felt like a treacherous maze. One step could plunge her deeper into darkness, but perhaps, just perhaps, it could also lead her to the light she had been yearning for all along. "Okay," she said, gathering her resolve. "Let us figure this out." But as Maria turned back to Diego for further clarification, she caught a flicker of movement from the corner of her eye, a shadow slipping through the doorway into the kitchen, leaving uncertainty in its wake. "Did you see that?" she whispered, her heart racing. The door was still ajar, and the air thickened with the possibility of something unexpected lurking just beyond what she could see. What awaited them beyond that door? Would the truth bring clarity, or would it shatter everything? The tension in the room shifted, a palpable dread hanging over them. Maria's heart thumped like a war drum, echoing in her ears, drowning out the sounds of the house. She squinted into the dimly lit kitchen, chasing the fading shadow, trying to make sense of what she had just seen. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice firmer than she felt. Silence replied, thick and menacing. It felt as though the walls themselves were holding their breath. Diego stepped closer, casting a wary glance toward the kitchen. "We should check," he suggested. There was a protective edge to his voice, but Maria could detect the tremor of uncertainty beneath it. Jake placed a hand on her shoulder, grounding her. "Let us be careful," he warned, the protective instinct of a friend surfacing. With a nod, they moved as a unit toward the kitchen, the soft shuffling of their feet the only sound breaking the lingering silence. Each step felt like a leap into the unknown. The flickering light from the overhead bulb illuminated the kitchen, but shadows clung stubbornly to the corners, refusing to retreat. Maria's breath hitched as they reached the door frame. She leaned in, peeking around. Nothing appeared amiss, just the typical clutter of dishes and ingredients scattered across the counters. Yet that flicker had not been a figment of her imagination. Diego stepped in first, scanning the space. "It's empty," he said, but Maria could see the doubt in his eyes. "Or maybe it's just waiting," she murmured. An unsettling chill slipped down her back as she turned away from the darkened doorway. What if someone is watching us?" Jake's voice was steady, a lifeline in her sea of uncertainty. "You've got to stay focused. This isn't just about shadows lurking in the dark. It's about your mother." Diego nodded, finally breaking from the tension. "If we're going to follow this lead, we need to keep our wits about us." The urgency of their situation settled heavily on Maria's shoulders again. Her mother, a solitary figure in her memories, was now an entire world away, embroiled in a situation they could barely grasp. Flashes of her childhood surged, tangled fears and unspoken love. What if she's in trouble? What if— "Stop," Jake interjected, placing both hands on her arms. "You need to breathe. We'll get to the bottom of this, together." His words were grounding in a storm of chaos. She glanced at both men, their expressions steady yet troubled. They depended on each other now, unified by the desire to unravel the truth. But lurking shadows also meant incoming danger. As if reading her thoughts, Diego pointed toward the back door. "Let us not linger. We need to decide our next move. If someone is watching, they might follow us." They edged toward the back exit, the wooden floor creaking beneath them, harsh in the still air. Just as they reached for the doorknob, the sound of footsteps echoed from the hallway, quick and deliberate. Maria's heart raced. "We're not alone," she whispered, fear flooding her. Jake's eyes widened, and Diego, ever the protector, stepped in front of Maria, blocking her view. "What do we do?" she whispered, panic rising like bile. "We stay quiet," Diego replied, tension coiling in his stance. As the footsteps grew louder, Maria felt a surge of desperation. What if the person she sought, the mother she barely knew, was closer than she thought, hidden in the shadows they were too afraid to pursue? And then, in a split second, the door swung open. "Wait!" Maria shouted as a figure stepped into the light, heart pounding with hope and dread. It was a woman, her hair disheveled, eyes wide with fear. "Maria," she said, breathless, "I've been looking for you." The world spun as recognition washed over Maria. Who was this woman? What had she come to tell her? And more importantly, could she trust this unexpected revelation? Maria stood frozen, her breath hitching in her throat as the woman in front of her came into focus. It was a face that stirred fragments of distant memories. "Mom," she whispered, the word escaping her lips like a prayer. It was her, the woman who had haunted her dreams and shaped her childhood fears, now standing just a breath away. "Yes, Maria, it's me," her mother replied, voice trembling, tears brimming in her eyes. "I'm so sorry for everything. I've been trying to find you." Every syllable felt heavy, packed with years of regret and longing. Maria's mind spiraled, every emotion battling for dominance: anger, confusion, relief. Diego stepped back, sensing the electrifying tension that crackled in the space, becoming a ghost in the room. Jake's grip on Maria's shoulder tightened. He leaned in closer, ready to shield her from the world that had betrayed her for so long. "What is going on?" Maria's voice shook as she tried to piece together the fragmented reality. "Why now? Why did you leave?" Her mother lowered her gaze, shame washing over her like a cold tide, but they both knew those words wouldn't stop the flood of questions. "It's a long story, one filled with mistakes that I need to explain, but there isn't much time. I'm in danger, Maria." The words hit hard, rattling every nerve in Maria's body. Danger? From what? From who? Maria's mother took a shaky breath, her eyes darting around the room as if she expected shadows to leap from the corners. "I've been involved with people who think I know things that I don't. They're searching for me, and I need to warn you to be careful too. Why should I trust you after all this time?" Maria challenged, her voice a haunting echo of her childhood anger and pain, unsure whether to embrace the fragments of hope or shield herself from yet another heartbreak. "Because I'm still your mother, and I never stopped loving you," her mother pleaded, desperation lacing her tone. "I made choices I regret, but I want to protect you from those consequences, however late that may be." Jake watched Maria, his heart breaking for her as he tucked her closer to him, silently assuring her he was right there, steadfast in any storm that may come. He understood the gravity this moment held, how the threads of past and present were dangerously intertwined. "Maria," he urged softly, careful not to overwhelm her further, "you don't have to make a choice right now. Just listen." The tension in Maria's chest unfurled reluctantly as she turned her gaze back to her mother, ready to hear the words meant to bridge years of silence. "What do we need to do?" she asked, resolve finally piercing through the confusion. Her mother glanced at Diego, then back to Maria, understanding the unspoken question hanging in the air. "We need to leave. Before they find us. There are things I need to tell you. About your father and why I had to leave." The weight of those words bore down on Maria, a paradox of hope and fear swelling once more. "But what about Isabel?" she murmured, glancing back to the living room where her daughter remained, blissfully unaware of the unfolding chaos. "We can't involve her, not in this, it's too dangerous," her mother said urgently, and Maria felt a sharp pang of protectiveness rise. "But she's my world," Maria insisted, her heart screaming. "I won't leave her behind." In that moment, something shifted. Maria realized that with every heartbeat, her desire to break the cycle of pain took root deeper. "I've spent too long running from the past. I won't allow you to drag us back into darkness." Jake nodded, his eyes glistening with unfiltered admiration. "We face this together, Maria. You have strength, let us figure this out as a family." With renewed determination, Maria glared at her mother, her voice firm. "I won't be pulled into a life of secrets. I will find out the truth about my past, but I need to do it on my own terms. You may have left, but I've built a life, a future for Isabel." Maria's mother stepped back, taken aback by the firmness in her daughter's resolve. Fine, she finally relented, resignation clear in her eyes, but you need to understand, people are coming for me. They may come for you too. There was a moment of silence, a shared acknowledgement of the precarious terrain they stood upon, but the flame of resolve in Maria's heart burned brighter than all the shadows combined. Then let us prepare for them, she declared, determination wrapping around her like armor. In the following days, the days that would redefine them all, they plotted and planned. Each passing hour ignited newfound connections and unveiled the links of family and trust. With Jake by her side, the painful memories lost their haunting quality. They learned to navigate the fragile path of reconciliation while preparing for the looming confrontation ahead. The challenges were great, but with each dismantled secret and every heartfelt conversation, Maria felt buoyant branches of hope sprouting. Perhaps, through confronting these shadows, they all could emerge into the light stronger, more connected, and ready to embrace the future. As they stood together, facing the unknown with courage and love, Maria's heart opened wide, cautiously inviting the beauty of redemption, family, and perhaps even a second chance at happiness. And in that warm California afternoon, the air felt lighter, infused with the promise of everything still to come, the laughter of Isabel, the warmth of understanding, and the unbreakable bond that emerged amidst life's untamed storms. But in this moment of hope, a quiet reminder echoed in her heart. It was time to step into the light, to embrace what was to come, together. If you found this story inspiring, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us share these amazing transformations. We want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending down below, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans know how important your support is for the channel.